Hi, this is Jeannie, and I just wanted to show you how I took this old, really old, worn out Forsythia wreath and just refurbished it. The grapevine base was still good, and the first thing I want to do is just get rid of that raffia bow, and I intended to take each one of the Forsythia pieces and just re-secure them. So that's what I started out doing. Um, like I say, this was an old wreath, and come to find out, I did this for my friend. I had told her I'd put a new bow on it, and she said, "Well, don't fool with it," because she said the flowers are falling off of it. So I just went by her house and picked it up and thought I'm going to rework that wreath and make it better. So I started out by checking all the pieces that were loose and then reattaching them with some fresh hot glue, and you can see just every piece on it was loose. I mean, there was just hardly anything left attached. And she told me later that she had bought this wreath like, 10 years ago at a garage sale, and it had been in a storage shed, and she just got it out, in the spring and thought, well, I'll put it on my door till I get something else. So I thought I would surprise her and fix it up a little bit. So, like I say, I started out by hot gluing all the little pieces and sticking them back in there. Now I brought out some bushes from Trendy Tree. I brought out four Forsythia bushes, and that's what I was going to use to replenish the bloom. So you can see them up in the corner of the screen. I had to refill my hot glue pan. My hot glue pan is just a little 7 or 8 inch skillet, and I just use it for hot glue, nothing else. So I just, throw some more sticks in there and just turn that on low. And that really is a really good way. If you use a lot of hot glue, it's really easier on doing something like this than trying to use a hot glue gun. I'll give you a link for that. I think that one came from Amazon. It's 7 or 8 inches and was around $20 or so. You can see all these pieces are really small, and they still have some old hot glue on the pieces, and I just, re-dipped them and, kept replacing them. Practically everything was loose on it, and so I finally just decided to just, stop trying to replace those, and I just started pulling them off and laying them aside. The good thing about a grapevine wreath is you really can't wear it out. I mean, you can just reuse it and reuse it. Now, if you use a lot of hot glue, no, it's really hard to, remove anything that you put on there with hot glue. But in this case, this wreath was so old, and the glue had was just degraded, and there was just no glue left on it. And usually, when I'm making something for myself, I don't use a lot of hot glue on it, or if I use any, because I like to repurpose things. So I like to take something like a grapevine wreath and then redecorate it for, several different seasons. Now, if you're making wreaths to sell, that's totally different because you have to fix, in a permanent manner. But, when you're just doing stuff for yourself, which is, what I'm doing nowadays, uh, I just like to, repurpose it and redesign it and, use something else. So these are the bushes that I got from Trendy Tree, and I'll give you that link in the blog post. So it's kind of an inexpensive forsythia bush, and I don't know how many pieces, how many stems it has there, but I'm using what we call the Easy Bush Cutter. We sell those on Trendy Tree when we can get them. They're kind of hard to come by right now, but I just went ahead and cut all those limbs um, loose from the bush. When I first started trying to decorate wreaths and things, I really didn't realize that you uh, cut those pieces loose from the bush. I thought we're supposed to use the bush, the whole thing, by itself. So I've learned a lot. The bush cutter just makes it, easier to cut through stems, um, especially the thick ones. I brought out 4. I was not sure exactly how many I would use, but it turned out that I only used 3. And I also had some extra pieces of some greenery, and I used that sprout leaf um, spray. I love that spray. It adds such a nice dimension. It's light and airy. It's got little bitty leaves on it, and I really like that. I brought out 2, but I only used 1. And like I say, I used some scrap greenery that I had left over from some other projects. And there was one sunflower bundle. I don't think I showed it on the video, but it was a sunflower bundle, and the hardest part about that was getting that thing taken apart. Um, it was designed to, use as a bundle altogether or a bouquet altogether, but I wanted to use it for this project. I did use one bush that, was not left over. It was like a Dusty Miller. It had, just 4 or 5 stems on it. And I brought out a eucalyptus bush, but I wound up not using it. I was trying to stay with a monochromatic theme, I guess, just using yellow and then adding in a little bit of green to just, give it a little extra dimension and look. So I just took the individual pieces and, put them in hot glue. The main thing that I did is I put them all going in the same direction. So I just worked all the way around the wreath, just piecing the forsythia pieces in, and then occasionally I would add in some green. So I'm gonna speed this up so you can see, the whole video. There's no need in me, going through the actual time because it took me about 45 minutes to make this wreath. So I'm gonna speed this up. At this point, I just move the wreath to my work board. Sometimes it helps to hang it on your board or hang it on the door so you can get a better look of where you need to fill in some gaps. So I just continued to use what pieces I had left over and fill in any gaps here and there. The next thing I did was get ready to make the bow, and I don't know, crafting just makes such a mess, y'all. My craft room is an extra bedroom that's turned into a craft room, and it just gets so messy. But anyway, I use the Easy Bow Maker. Now, you can make a hand-tied bow. It's easier for me using something like the Easy Bow Maker or Bow Dabra. So today I was just using the Easy Bow Maker. Now we sell these on Trendy Tree, and I'll give you a link for that. I used 3 different ribbons that I already had in my supplies because they, work for this wreath, and I really like using up extra supplies and getting rid of anything that leftovers can just pile up. I mean, you just get so many things when you don't use all the pieces um, of a product when you make something. So anyway, I'm making about a 12-inch wreath bow, and you just decide on the length of your tails. I think these were probably about 14 or 16 inches, and I'm making 6-inch loops, and that'll result in about a 12-inch bow. This ribbon has a right and a wrong side. It's 2.5 inches, and it's still available on Trendy Tree, I believe. So I made 2 loops on each side and ended that off. Of course, it's wired ribbon. If you're new to bow making, it's just always easier to work with wired ribbon because it's just so forgiving, and you can manipulate it and shape it and so forth. And it holds up good, on a wreath. This is a 1.5 inch. It's a kind of a canvas-like, and I made the tails the same length and just drop that down between the slots there. The Easy Bow Maker, all that does is just really hold your ribbon in place for you. I made a 6-inch loop. You twist and then make a loop on the other side. For that ribbon, I didn't have much of that ribbon left, so I just did one loop on each side and ended that tail off. Of course, that's wired ribbon also. And then my last one was this 1.5 inch yellow ribbon. I love this ribbon. It's a gauze ribbon, and you can kind of see through it, but yet it's got really great texture, and it's wired. And I don't know if that color is called sunshine or sunflower or something like that, but it's just a really, really pretty bright yellow. Now I made these loops just a little bit smaller. That's about a 5-inch loop on each side. And I just did, I didn't need just a huge bow for this wreath, so I just did one loop on each side, and then ease that up off your bow maker. I used a chenille stem to secure it with. So just ease that up, keeping it all stacked and held in place. Put the chenille stem right across the center. Bring it around to the back. Give it a couple of twists. And just hold on to it's easier if you hold your chenille stem and twist your bow. And then just kind of fluff out your bow. Get all your loops pulled out and fluffed up. And then you can use that chenille stem to attach to your wreath. Now, when you're attaching a bow to something like a grapevine wreath, to me, it's easier if you approach it from the back of the wreath. Take something like needle nose pliers and kind of poke it through the back of the wreath and grab that chenille stem. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to like thread your chenille stem through the grapevine wreath, because if you just go around your grapevine wreath, it's going to show. So you want to kind of thread your wire or whatever you're using to hold your bow kind of through the grapevine wreath. And to me, it's easier to grab a hold of those ends if you use something like needle nose pliers, and then just pull it through to the back and secure it. So the bow is attached, and the last thing I did was take the pieces from that sunflower bouquet, and I just kind of stuck them up there just for a second to kind of get an idea of where I wanted to put those before I added the hot glue. So you can always do that, kind of, find your position and then use your hot glue to secure it. And like I say, the hardest part about this wreath was getting that bouquet undone. I mean, it was fixed. It was just really hard to take all those pieces apart. But anyway, it had a couple of large sunflower blooms and then a couple of buds, and I just kind of position those in and around the bow. And I'll speed up the video so you can see the rest of it. And there it is after I finished it. Put your final touches on your bow. Kind of run your fingers down the ribbons and give a little life to them. And you can always finish off the ends of your ribbons with an angled cut or a dovetail type cut. Any way you want to do that. You can just roll up the edges too. Give it a good shape. Make sure everything is secured well. And in the corner there, you can see what the wreath looked like, before I started and after I finished. And there it is on my front door. I put it on my front door just to get some pictures. And it was easy. It was a great way to refurbish an old wreath and use up some scrap supplies and just a few new supplies. I think she'll like it.